We already mentioned vertical rhythm. Now let's talk about horizontal rhythm and how to use it. It will help you actually to define how many columns you can have in your section, and also how long the length of the text, of the line length, you will have for your project. The very first thing, let's define what is a rhythm in general, so you will understand a little bit better. So here is the example of the horizontal rhythm, all these lines here, and this is vertical rhythm, all these like curves here. What is that actually, and why we should keep it in mind? It doesn't mean that there is any particular rule about horizontal rhythm and vertical rhythm, but you will understand a little bit better how to use this rhythm to define spacing between elements. Yeah, this is mind-blowing and incredible. Rhythm to typography came from music. This is exactly how we hear music, for example, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So all these things, this is rhythm, and you can apply this rhythm to typography as well. It's mostly used, not mostly, but it's only used for readability, to improve the readability of your text, because every time that anyone sees the text on the page, our brain, if we are not talking about speed reading, but about regular reading, we read word by word, or groups of words, like group of word, one word, and so on and so forth. And we see the line and we follow this line, then we jump to the next line. We follow this line, we jump to the next line. And this is how we define our vertical rhythm. And this is a great example here. We have heading that gives us how we work. And remember that design is communication, right? So how we work. We drop this huge line, and then we go line after line after line. We give some space, like breathing, and then line after line after line after line, line after line after line after line. We give this rhythm. In this case, it was vertical rhythm. The same applies to horizontal one. The horizontal one is when we are reading the line itself. We are going from word by word, and when this melody, like in music, there are things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we go to the next line, and we go to the next line. The same applies to typography as well. When you have really long, like wide text, wide line of the text, it will be hard for you to follow it, because your brain will get tired. Your brain will want to change the music now, to change the melody, to change the rhythm again, and listen it again to listen it again. You got the idea? Typography is like music, and you apply it, this is not exactly like rules, principles that you should follow. This is how you should feel the text that you're putting on in your design. And things become a little bit harder in UX, UI design, and web design, where we have dynamic content, because the size of the screen defines how our rhythm will work. But sometimes we can use some particular principles that will help us to make it a little bit easier for people to read, because again, the main purpose of typography to be read, so people will read this text, and we want people to read everything, because this will help us to deliver the message that we want to deliver, because design is communication. And the easiest way to deliver that is to provide great readability. And to provide great readability, we will use a rhythm, so the user's brain, will not get tired. Here, as you can see, all the blocks, let's go here, all the blocks are divided into sections. We have headings, we have perfect visual hierarchy, we have heading, let's imagine 2, this is heading 4, then we have like main body text, body 2. We define this visual hierarchy, and then by dividing all this content into these sections, this helps us to improve readability and also to provide better horizontal rhythm and vertical as well. And this is how we work. How we work. This is how it works. And at the same time, yeah, I read how we work. How we work. Our approach to each project is simple yet effective. We map out a clear and measurable plan. So we go line by line, we jump, and our brain not get tired because we see line by line. And then we want to relax a little bit. The difference between beginners and senior designers is usually, you can see it also in typography and in spacings that people are using for between headings and paragraphs. If it's too tight, it means that it's most likely a beginner or the project needs to have it. But in most cases, from my experience, it shows me that this person is a beginner. They put everything together too close. All the text is close to each other, and they don't give this pause like in music, when music is playing, and then we have another melody just for a moment. Then again, we have the same melody. Why do we think like there is rap? Let's imagine rap music, and it goes text line by line, and then boom, we have melody. Because if we would have only text, then it will be hard for us to perceive this text, to understand it, to get it. It would be too boring. And the same applies to typography. Here we see that we have this heading, and then we read how we work, our approach to each project, and we go to the next line. And then we have space, like vertical rhythm. We have space. This is where we change melody or we take pause. So our brain gets this rest and is ready to work on something else. And why we are splitting everything into these headings like discover, design, build, deliver. Like music again, how we work. Discover, design, build, deliver. Boom, I got all the information right away because of the visual hierarchy. But at the same time, if I'm going to read everything, absolutely everything, then discover, design, build, deliver. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. This is like music, and this one is horizontal rhythm. And if we'll jump like this will be vertical rhythm. And this is why we need to split the text into columns. And we also don't need to make the text too wide, because our brain will get tired. And if you, like, this will show you that you are the master of typography. If you will be able to create the melody in the brain of your user, of course it will be defined by the words that you are using. But if you will be able to create, if you are able to create this melody, trust me, people will love it. People will not just read the text, they will feel it. This is incredible. Remember in the first module, when we were talking about the difference between graphic and UX design, I told you about this thing here, that like quotation mark goes out of the text. It doesn't mean that we can't achieve this result. You just use text indent and then minus 1 EM, and then this quotation mark in the web project will be outside, the same as we have here. In design tools, it's a little bit harder to achieve. It means that you will need to copy this text, to remove everything from here, right? Because again, if we're talking about Figma, Figma doesn't have text indent, the negative text indent now. So that's why to achieve this one, we will need to copy text, then we have this paragraph, and this is how we achieve this result. But if we'll get back to this thing, why I wanted to bring it here in this horizontal rhythm, because we also need to understand why the quotation mark is outside of the main text. The main reason is again readability and also horizontal and vertical rhythm. Here we have graphic design, one of the most brilliant organists his generation. So we jump from graphic design to the next line, one of the most, directly. While here, UX UI design, we jump to quotation mark, and only after that we jump to the text. and it becomes a little bit harder to read. And when it's harder to read, we lose readability, and we want to improve it. So that's why this is also part of the horizontal rhythm, where this quotation mark should be outside. This is just showing something, but the text goes first. And even here, I showed it, this line here is inside of the text just to create the pause, like his generation. We finished our message, one of the most brilliant organists of his generation. Revue musicale de Sius Romandais. Right? If I'll make this one, this will be also correct. Maybe not visually because it's too big. It would be better to have something like this. It's still correct, but in this case we don't give the pause like organists of his generation review. We jump to the next line right away and we don't have the pause. And this line gives us horizontal rhythm. It gives us this 1 and 2 and 3. So vertical and horizontal rhythm, as I said, this is the thing that you just feel, and when you start just analyzing all the things that you see in front of you, all the typography, and I'm not talking about like there are some specific perfect websites where you can find it. No, just analyze and understand how you specifically see the text. Not just see, like how you specifically feel the text on the page. And you will understand that, oh, okay, if the heading is too huge and it takes 3 lines, it's harder for me, for my brain, to perceive this text. If there are so many lines of text and it's really wide, it's hard for me to read this text, so I get bored. What I can change in this case, I can make the text shorter. Let me give you some more examples here. Like this is our horizontal rhythm from the previous example, and then we jump to the next line. And this is another example where this Andrew Cudwell has his heading and then the text here. And this is also horizontal and vertical rhythm. And in my opinion, the rhythm, horizontal rhythm, in this case is a little bit broken. Let me explain. Let's read this text. Product designer and design system specialist. Product designer and design system specialist. I work with startups and established businesses to consult on their products. Everything is perfect with this line, with this one. But when it comes to this text, it's a little bit harder. It looks amazing. Visually, it looks incredible. And we see, my eyes, because of the vertical rhythm, my eyes easily see product design and design system specialist. It's totally fine. I'm not saying that this is bad. This is great. Looks amazing. I can read everything. I can catch all the information right away, jump to the text. Great. If it would be perfect, then I would have something like product designer and design system specialist. This would give me this horizontal rhythm. And at the same time, I would understand everything like line by line. Product designer and design system specialist. Because this is how we talk, right? I don't talk to you, product. Hello, actually, can you tell me what are you doing? You know, I'm a product designer and design system specialist. We don't talk like that, and this is because design is communication. This is where it would be great for us to apply the same principles from real world, how we communicate, to communicate through the typography, through the size of typography, through vertical and horizontal rhythm, with all these things. Another example is here. This is from Apple website, and you see these lines. These lines, they have to provide these lines on the page just because of the laws. People usually don't read it. If you do, that's totally fine. But because they have to provide this information, there are lots of information here. They don't want to give it too much space. And that's why they have this long, long line of the text. And the text is pretty small, so it doesn't take too much space on the page. They provide still this information, but usually people don't read it. And they don't read it not because they don't care. They don't read it because it's hard to read. Here, the horizontal rhythm will be completely not like broken, but the same melody will play for too much time, and because of that our brain will get tired and we will decide to skip this information. You can use the psychology principle when you're designing anything for social media as well, because this is why today you see all these carousels where we have just short lines of text, short line of text, short line of text, short line of text. In the caption, when you are writing something, also divide into small chapters, because into small paragraphs. It will also improve readability. People today get tired of the information really fast. So, and yeah, now you can apply this principle when you're designing something. And not designing, but even writing. Another example of the horizontal rhythm would be here, and you might think like, okay, we always talk about text heavy projects. What about something like web service or SaaS product? Here is the great design created by my friend Aurelio, and here where you can find the horizontal rhythm here. The vertical we can define pretty easily. You requested flights, then you go all approved. We jump to the next line, then we jump to the next line, we jump to the next. So this is the vertical rhythm. And if we are talking about horizontal one, you requested flights. It can be something different, right? But it's written perfectly here. You requested flights. We can make the pause here, and then all approved, pending, expired, rejected. Like you're jumping, all approved. This is horizontal rhythm. Then we jump to the next one, approved. This is how the text into speech service would give this information to you, and everything should be perceived perfectly for you, right? So think when you're designing something, think also how it will be read by these services that transform text into speech. And this is also great for accessibility, remember. And where the horizontal rhythm is here, actually in this spacing, and also in these spacings here. Mostly horizontal rhythm is in spacings, because this defines where you're taking pause to give next piece of information. From here, through this, to here. From this time to this time. And then additional information here. So horizontal rhythm mostly defined by the spacings that you have in your text. And if we'll get back to our solution with this quotation mark, we have this spacing here, and because of that it breaks our horizontal rhythm. While here we don't have this spacing, and all the lines we just jump from line to line, and this is how we achieve this perfect and smooth feeling when we read something like this. There is another example of a great horizontal and vertical rhythm. The horizontal one, lean product principles, human-centered design, pair programming, ongoing feedback. So, and then we have line, word. This is our music starts somewhere here. And then we jump, boom. I don't know, maybe it would be funny, but I hope that you will perceive it correctly and you will understand what I mean here. Let's try to play the music with this text. Lean product principles, 1, 2, 3. And then we read the text. We start with a minimum viable product and early version of it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, this is from music school, but here, as you can see, we give the melody. So we gave some piece of information, particular piece of information, jump to the next piece of information. And to jump to the next big piece of information, we need to make this pause. So that's why this, usually people are asking, like, what about white space? How should I use white space? Use white space as the pause that you are giving between text blocks. The bigger the text block is, the more pause you make, or the more stress you want to make on particular piece of information, the more pause you take. This is what horizontal and vertical rhythm. This helps you to define the music, how, and to improve readability. I took this really long pause to stress the previous piece of information. Every time when I'm talking, design is communication, right? And every time when we are talking, we give some pauses to make a stress on a particular element. Now I want to talk about you see, I had one paragraph of information, and then when I started talking about, now let's talk about, we gave the pause, and then now let's talk about, this is next piece of information. And if we are talking about horizontal rhythm and columns, so we already defined that horizontal rhythm is defined by the spacings. It also helps us to define that to understand that the length of the text should be short enough so our brain will not get bored of it. It should be long enough so we will understand the music. But it also can be defined by the columns that you are using, the columns of text. Like here we have 2 columns, and we jumped like river, we jumped from here to here to here to here. But it also can be just one horizontal rhyme. Why go premium? Just one go premium. Taking a pause. Because download music, no ad interruption, play any song, unlimited skips. Horizontally we jumped tune, 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 tune. And then if you want to read everything, then it will be download music, listen anywhere. No ad interruption, enjoy monster music. Non-stop, monster music. Enjoy non-stop music. Play any song, even on mobile. Unlimited skips, just hit next. Just try to pronounce even what you are creating, and you will understand how your text is perceived by the user's brain. And in this case, we have 4 columns. How many columns we can have? Actually, you can have as many columns as you want, unless the brain of the user still perceives the information and the melody is still sounds interesting to the user. If we'll have like 12 the same pieces of information here, it would be too boring. So it would be better to show like 4 lines, then 4 lines, and then 4 lines. In this case, my brain would 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how the user's brain would perceive the information. So now I hope that you understand this principle and you can use it for services for the website like this, like promotional websites, to promote your services, to show your process, to show companies that you work with, and you understand what horizontal rhythm is, what horizontal and vertical rhythm are. But in this case, horizontal rhythm, that this is how we read our line of text, then we jump to the next one, and this is how we define also our spacings between columns, between pieces of information. And usually one additional thing about vertical rhythm and horizontal one, vertical rhythm gives you, usually gives you, divides the the pieces of information, while horizontal one defines them. You have one topic, like vertical one shows you different topics that you're going through, while horizontal one, inside of one topic, you gives more explanation, more information here. And this is we jump vertically, and this is how we jump horizontally. So that's why let's make your SEO success happen. And then how? All the steps. The steps are showing one process, but the entire section is separate from all other sections. Also keep this in mind when working with horizontal and vertical rhythm. And not the homework, but I hope that you will do this exercise next time when you go to absolutely any website. Try to play the music, like try to read as you are seeing the melody, as you are listening to the music while reading some text on the page, whether it will be navigation where you're going from about us, our work contact, and jump to the next piece of information, or just go through the text, go through all the copy that you see, take a look at the size of the text, take a look at the spacings between elements. This will show you how the melody is created for this text. Most people don't think about it, but now when you know this information, this will help you. This will help you to understand how to set the spacing, not particular spacing. Sometimes you don't have to be so precise like, oh, 4 pixels will be here. No, think about what pause you will take to provide next piece of information. So you will think not in spacings, you will not in pixels, you will think in the way you deliver the information. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.